Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, viewers. My name is Ariana, and I am presenting Tessa, Sebastian, Jesse, and I's psychology experiment, which is about does a person's music taste connect to a person's personality and identity? The introduction to our experiment is in this experiment, we wanted to discover if there was any correlation from an individual's personality and identity to the music genre that they listened to. How we did our experiment is by sending out a survey to the population of Sacred Heart Cathedral Preparatory through the use of Schoology. And after sending out our survey, we received many responses, specifically 101 responses from participants of different ages, they were from different grades, they were from different racial backgrounds, they identified as different genders, and they were interested in different hobbies. To better support our research, we wanted to take our findings of the experiment we performed and compare it to the findings in an online survey that asked the same question. Our hypothesis for our experiment is we believe that the music genre an individual chooses to listen to can be explained by their identity or their personality traits.
And what do they consist of? So our independent variable is the identity or personality traits of the subject being the person taking the survey. The dependent variables is the music taste. So depending on the person, different personalities equal different music tastes. The controlled variables are the music genre preferences / categories, the survey distribution method, demographic questions, and the response format. What are the all uncontrolled factors? One uncontrolled factor would be bias in self-identification. If you want to lie and say, okay, I'm an extrovert, when you're actually an introvert, that's one of the uncontrolled factors. Temporal changes is another one. Survey timing and the survey environment. So let's say, you're with your friends and they're like, oh, you like rap, right? And you actually don't. Maybe you would put rap down as a genre of music that you like just because your friends said that, right? So the survey environment is an uncontrolled factor that we have. All right, lastly, how do we set up our experiment? The survey we created to test our hypothesis asked the participants about their hobbies inside and outside of school, whether they consider themselves an introvert or an extrovert, the participants' racial identity, the participants' age, and their gender. We released the survey to the population of Sacred Heart Cathedral through the textbook marketplace, where we allowed for all of our subjects to stay anonymous. We decided to use an online survey to carry out our experiment because we could gather large amounts of data from multiple people and compile that data in percentages that are both refined and simplified answers. So we ended up actually getting just over 100 responses, which makes it pretty rock solid in terms of our feedback.
We asked if you were introverted or extroverted, the gender, how old you were, and the race. And this was basically to get a background on our participants' personality traits and identity as a whole. And then we went a little bit more in depth with this personality aspect. So we asked the question, what do you do in and out of school, activity-wise? And this is the results that we had gotten for that. We did two different research methods. We used SRS, which if you're not familiar with that, it's kind of something that statistics students will cover, but it's a stratified random sample. And that is taking a small proportion of the sample population and basically using its data to represent this population sample as a whole. And when we put this through a random number generator, we had gotten these numbers for the specific participant number that it resonated with. What I mean by that is that each participant was given a number when they were they started the survey. And what that means is that the first person that took our survey is number one on that participant list, and then so on, so on, so on. So we use the random numbers generator basically to pick out those individuals and specifically write down what they had answered for their survey. And we found 3 different connections within this small little proportion of our population for the sample. And this one of the connections was 2 people had said rap, and they were both extroverted people. Another one was pop. These 2 people liked pop, and they also enjoyed writing, and they happened to be female. And then the last one was R&B. These 2 people happened to like it, but they were also introverted people. So it was interesting seeing this connection early on, even with 10 samples, which is a small proportion of our data. So it was really interesting, and it kind of helped to prove our hypothesis a little bit more. So what is our data telling us? We wanted to show everyone kind of what our sample population looked like as a whole.
Hi, my name is Jesse Garcia, and I will be presenting the last 4 slides of our slide deck for our project. So for this one, we asked, what is our data telling us? Well, for the questions about activities inside and outside of school, there was a wide variety of activities that were described by our subjects, including sports, gaming, exercising, and non-academic activities, instruments, and etc. This is just a general look to the kind of subjects who volunteered for this survey. What ended up being the most popular option for each question asked. The first one was pop, the second one was introvert, third one was white and Caucasian, the fourth one was 14 and 15-year-olds tied for the most, and the last one is female. Or is the general who answered our survey and what they liked. Most of it was pop. People said they're mostly introvert. Mostly white Caucasians answered, and females and 14 and 15-year-olds. Online research data versus our research data. We structured our survey to include a special question at the end where the participants are asked to read descriptions of an online study findings for our personality connections to music taste. The findings matched music genres with the general personality types that those participants from the study identified with. Participants were asked afterwards, do you see your specific personality traits listed in your preferred music genre? We thought that we wouldn't want to rely on scientific method with only the findings of one single experiment. Instead, we should replicate the online study and test it again. We are to believe that if it functions once, shouldn't it function the same way repeatedly? And we said yes. If we repeat the test and the results are different, we know that there is a factor in the test that we are not taking into account. For the next one, we asked, so do you see results support our hypothesis? And our hypothesis, which was the music genre an individual listens to directly reflects who that individual is, was proven to be mostly accurate by our results. The participants in our experiment found that they were able to resonate with the personality traits we listed at the end of our survey, where we introduced the findings of the other study for the purpose of getting our participants' input on how reliable the study's data might be. And right here we have 101 responses to this question. The question is, do you see your specific personality traits listed in your preferred music genre? 61.4% said yes for the most part, and 38.6% said no, not really. This was the question asked after reading the online surveys. And here's our last slide, and these are 2 students reacting to the results. Let me play them.
Oh my god, that's me! I did it. Which one? Oh my god, that.
And then the next one.
Oh my goodness!